And like, who told you that you should? Hey, everybody, welcome to the show. This is the Let's Talk Station, and I'm Valerie Lorraine. This is Serious Shenanigans, and I'm here with our producer, Quentin. We're ready for another show. We've made it to episode 15. What do you think about that, Quentin?
I don't know how we made it this far. I don't know what happened, but the board has definitely been watching, and the board is concerned that this show has made it this far.
I know. They keep
I
on
can
giving
barely
me a
hear you.
pass,
What's
though.
going on with your volume?
My volume.
What
My
you say?
volume is my volume really an issue, or are you just bugging at me?
I'm messing with you.
I thought so. Yeah, you know what? I mean, the board's always giving me a pass, so I think they just like to give you the rough time. They
What
always
episode
smile
is
and
this? What
nod.
episode is this? I forgot.
15, 1-5.
Why do we always come in like we're not prepared?
I'm
I think
prepared.
people are getting used to our little gimmick with acting like we're not prepared when we really are prepared.
I know, right?
They probably
They
like,
know better.
this is wearing real thin.
They don't
But
know you, but they know me.
so episode 15, who we got tonight?
We have Rainier, and I'm very excited about interviewing him because Um, he is such a great member of the community where I can have my home base on Instagram. He's a host on one of my channels. He is an excellent poet and writer. He's fascinating personality, and above all of that, I have to say I've had to step up my game because he has been in the room for all previous 14 episodes. So he knows all my little jokes.
So let me ask you a question.
Okay.
Is he in the room to steal your jokes? One, because he's bored. Two, and there's nothing else to do on a Tuesday night. Three, support. Or four, is it really him, or is just he has the invisible computer running?
I'm going to go for three.
Or those comments could be preset.
I'm going to go for three. I'm going to go for
Three.
three. And possibly was two being bored because, I think he's ducking out of work a little bit
Okay.
sometimes. Yeah. So, it's something to do while you're supposed to be in a meeting and put in
So
the
you and
earbuds.
him co-host the show together, right?
No, he hosts a show on his own on one of my channels, Origin of Thought.
Really?
So he's taken the Friday night at I believe it's 10 p.m. Eastern time slot,
So
and
let me ask you. Usually, Val, our little conversation doesn't go this long
no, it doesn't.
because we started probably 2 minutes early. I have two
Okay,
minutes to talk to you. I have 2 minutes to talk to you.
that's a
So,
long time.
how was that being able to trust this beautiful person with your baby?
Well, you know what the thing is that I watch people closely before I invite them to be hosts on my channel, and I check them out for the first while and make sure that they've got everything in play and that they're comfortable and so. But Rainier was a no brainer. He's got this personality that if people in the room haven't met him yet, they're gonna see it real quick. So it was a no brainer.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I'm
Okay.
not giving him the reins. I'm just giving him a couple hours.
But I mean, a couple hours could be a lot. I mean, sometimes I know we all have our days where we need some me time, but you got to stick to the schedule. Got to stick to it. So it's like, okay, you're gonna run the show. I'm out. And then you come back and you
Well,
might watch the rebroadcast and be like, "Yo, it was really awesome. You really kicked butt. Like, yo, you did an excellent job, and this, that, and the third." And I know that has to feel great.
it does. You know what? He's done a great job, and everybody's quite happy. And it's a perfect time slot too because I think people were looking for something at that time slot. So he's done super well with that, and he has a great presence. He knows how much conversation to have, one to move things along. So he does a great job.
Great, great.
Do you
That's a
think
good
he's in the
thing.
background thinking like, man, they're talking
It's
a
probably
lot?
palms is probably sweaty. Anxiety is kicking in back there.
I know, because he has no idea what I'm going to ask him.
No idea. He think he knows all the stuff, but he doesn't.
Yeah, no, this is all
He doesn't
different.
know all the tricks of the trade. But
No.
we'll see how things go.
Okay. Well, hello. How are you?
Hi, Valerie. Hi, how are you? I'm well. It's a beautiful sunny morning for a winter's day here in down in the land down under. So here we are.
So it's Wednesday where you are?
Yes, correctly. I've lose track of time between when I say yes to people in the states. Yeah, Tuesday will be fine. I got to always put it up there that it's Wednesday for me.
Wednesday,
So
right? Well, we gave you lots of reminders to make sure you showed up, so we're good.
yeah, the IG did go a bit nuts this week once you put the flyer out, didn't it?
It did, but it made its rounds, so that's all that matters. And we have lots of people in the room, so everybody, I'd love to welcome you to the room. It's wonderful to see you. We ask that you like and subscribe to the channel, but don't stop there. Hit the notification bell so you get notified of the shows, and magically, I don't have to remind you. Uh, so we're gonna get started here. Rainier, what makes you the compassionate man that we've grown to know?
Life, losing my father at an early stage when I was 12, probably the closest person to me, even to date. As much as I loved my mother, my father and I had a very uncanny relationship to a point where my older two siblings, and dad was an inspector in the police, so he used to travel a lot.
Okay.
So mum literally ran the house. She was the iron hand, the iron fist. Um, she could discipline my older two siblings, but even if my own mother disciplined me and dad found out about it, I could guarantee there'll be an argument and he wouldn't talk to her for a couple of days until it passes over. So as a young, 7, 8 mischievous, and I was the black sheep of the family, the mischievous one. I used to play to that. I used to, when mum came to grab me to discipline, I used to run out of the house and wait outside until dad came home. But a couple of times, mum just sort of outsmarted me. She sent my brother to come and tell me you can come in. Mum's not going to hit you. As soon as I walked in, I hear the clunk clunk of the bolts go in the door, and then out came the the whooping. But hey, it's made me what I am. But I guess losing my father is it forced, and because I was so close to him right through my very pretty much into my adulthood, I lived behind a wall. I would even only let my mother in so close for that fear of loss.
Mhm.
So, inadvertently through my adolescence, and then at 13, I migrated to Australia. And today, while it's a very where there's no, everyone's accepted and everyone gets along well. In those back in those years, there was some racism, and the times of the gangs and this and that. And I literally had to go through all that myself without that father figure. So I guess it helped me to find that compassion within myself. And at the end of the day, I think that whole truth is within us. We just need to look within.
Absolutely.
Um, mm.
And we're going to get to that in a bit because um, we're going to get a few things out of the way right away, because I know that everybody knows you as a poet and an author. So tell us about your books.
So I started writing many years ago, but just purely for myself, for my self-reflection. I traveled around Australia for about 10 years, and in that time, I guess there was nobody to talk to. Some of the desolate places I found myself in, there's not many other human beings, even sometimes in the middle of the desert. So these thoughts which were crowding my head, I started writing down just to get focus. So if there were 10 thoughts, the ifs, the buts, the maybes, putting down on paper, it focused it and gave me, like I was talking to myself, and gave me that sense of channeling my thoughts. Why did these things happen in my life? I started looking back at the previous 20, 25, 27 years of my life. And from the time of my father's death. And at that stage, I was traveling around. I didn't even have a computer, so it was all handwritten notes. And then when I stopped into towns and I met somebody, they would type them up on a laptop. And this is going to give my age away. Put it on a little 3.5-inch floppy disk, right? And I was back on my motorbike. I thought I'll keep this stuff if I want to. So people who were typing it up and a few people who saw this work found my writing was triggering off their own thoughts and helping them with turmoil in their own life or challenges they were going through in their life. And they kept saying, publish this, publish this. So the cover of my first book, which was Life, the Journey of the Soul, that was in the making for, I'd promised to release this for probably 15, 20 years. But I guess I was a bit reluctant because it showed a side of me that even my family didn't know. They always saw this hard, external, wild person. Nobody knew that deeper inner side of me. To date, I've got friends and family who don't believe that I wrote these books. They never knew that side of me because I've got two very different personalities, that extroverted party boy, party animal, and then I've got this very reflective, introspective person within me, which is probably the real me. So I eventually got this, what they kept saying, I've got to get this out, got to get this out, because it can help people. So I started off about 4 years ago, starting my Instagram page. And then eventually I got this book out, July 21, eventually came out. The cover drawing was done for me by a psychic artist about 25 years before the book came out. It's hanging on my wall. She had a few of my poems in a sealed envelope on her lap, and she came up with that picture. And it was a relevant picture. It looks at that male and female energy, which stems to the very, very first poem I ever wrote, because it was a turning point in my life from where I expended all my energies outwards previously. I started looking within, and I'm probably here talking to you today because of that incident. Otherwise, I probably would be either dead or in a prison somewhere, the way I was going. So it turned my life significantly and gave me the drive to really eventually let that inner person out for the world to see, who I now share publicly with everybody. What you see, what you hear is what you get. What's in my head is what comes out of my mouth. I'm not one of those people who has one thought, but I say what the people want to hear. That's not me. And then the second book, Growth, Enlightenment of the Soul, came out January this year, which was an extension of that continuity of the journey. And now I'm working on the third book, which is, I'll let out the title. It'll be Love, the Soul Finds Peace.
Oh, beautiful. So where can we find those books if we would like to go and get them?
So if you follow me on Instagram, on my profile is a Linktree link, and that's got access to the links to Amazon, Barnes and Noble, and Balboa Press, who's a division of Hay House, who I published through. They signed me up for 2 books, and I'll probably do my next book with them as well. From their own bookstore as well. My advice to people is if you go to the Amazon in your own country, because the postage is cheaper. I know if I buy a book from the US that's not in Amazon.com.au, I pay a fortune for postage. So if you're in the US, buy it from .com, Amazon.com is still a lot cheaper. Few people have requested signed copies, so I've got the book from here and signed it and postage, and the postage costs more than the damn books. Right. Like your copies, the book. unless you could have bought them cheaper on Amazon than it cost me to post the damn things. But look, I know it's that personalized thing, and I'm happy to do that for people. So recently, Miss Rosie Reed and Phil Curtis from Midnight, aka Midnight, they wanted some signed copies, and I'm happy to do that because it also gives me that warm feeling that it means something to somebody, right? So yeah.
Incredible. And I do cherish the books. They are incredible. I will let everybody know that I think that you should really, if you're teetering on making the purchase, I highly recommend it. There's beautiful illustrations in the book, wonderful poetry, and it's very thought-provoking on a personal level. So
also, I just put, I've got a website too, which has access to all those links as well, which I've just put them in the chat. Not sure if the room
okay,
can see that.
so we'll let Quentin pick that up. Okay, we've talked about your books, and I'm gonna give you a moment. I'm going to ask you if you will give us a piece so that people can get a taste of your poetry, and then we're going to switch gears a little bit. And thank you very much, Quentin, for putting that up. While you're getting a piece ready, again, I'd like to welcome everybody to the room, whether you're watching this live or on replay. We love having you in the room. And hit like and subscribe to our channel. Hit the notification bell. Also like to take a moment to thank our producer, Quentin, tonight for doing the great job that he does, as always. All right. Hopefully that gave you a moment to get ready.
Yeah. So the piece I think is appropriate for me to start with, and this is the very first poem I wrote over 30 years ago, and it's still very dear to me because it's about that event, that relationship that came out of the blues into my life, changed my life forever, hurt like all hell when it ended. It was like, imagine that relationship that you've never had an argument, you've never had a harsh word, everything was like heaven on earth, and suddenly it's taken away from you. It ended like that too. But the way it changed my life, I am who I am today and possibly alive because of this piece. And incidentally, it had to be the first poem in my very first book. And it's called A Mirror of Time. In that crowded room, I looked deep into her eyes as she did unto mine. There she stood in all her radiant beauty, a goddess in earthly form, an image which drowned the crowd to oblivion, a state of non-existence. Captivated I stood, my legs could run no more. As our eyes looked on, there was a glimpse of recognition of a time way back when, at the start of creation. A strange chill ran up my spine and slowly spread throughout my being. What was this strange feeling? Who was this mystical being? Why did my feet stop moving? Paralyzed I stood, no alternative at hand. Where was the world I once lived in? Where did it all go? As the trembling subsided, slowly in time, we settled in fine. The more I gazed into her eyes, the deeper I was drawn to depths unknown unto this time. Our individual worlds ceased to exist. We could not resist. Who was this lady with the clear blue eyes? In her eyes, I saw many reflections of times so long ago, of love and hurt, of joy and sorrow, the many dreams of yesteryear. At first, it was far beyond my understanding. Then I looked much deeper. It was then I realized I was looking in a mirror at my own true self, to the very core of my true being, masked until now. Yes, she faithfully reflected the very desires of my heart and soul, built upon layers through a river of time. To some be it a soulmate, to others a twin flame. To me, she was a mirror reflecting the totality of time, where good and bad, love and hurt, the yin and yang, all truly one and the same, reflections of a soul's journey to a center of centers, a pure nirvana, a universe within a universe, all within the course of time. At this point in time, I clearly see those clear blue eyes, like a sparkle in a clear big ocean, showed me my river, the river of time.
Whew. Stunning.
That
Absolutely.
still chokes me today. That's how significant that event in my life is. I cannot read that without choking up still today. And that
Wow.
was written 1989. That was written.
Wow. That is very powerful piece. So before I get into my next question, we have one from the audience. Lene would like to know what you would like people to get out of your poetry. I'm going to read it verbatim. What do you want people to learn about themselves from your poetry?
That's a very good question, actually, Lene. My recipe, my journey through life was for me, because only I can see life through my eyes. Only my heart can feel what I felt. What I hope for a reader to get out of my poetry is if my words, my journey that I narrate in my pieces, because a lot of my work is based on either experience in the physical or through past life regressions or through meditations, which I've got, which are influence and excuse me. What I hope for the reader is if my words, my journey, my experience can trigger off your own thought patterns, your own line of thinking to help you with whatever it is you're going through at that current time when you read it in your own life. Now, interestingly, what many have said to me in the past is where they've read one of my pieces and it's triggered off their thoughts and it's helped them to find their own answers for their, because only they can see life through their eyes, only they can feel their life through their heart.
True.
That same piece, the same person who's read it a couple of years later, going through another experience, challenge in their life, has triggered off, the same piece has triggered off different thoughts. That to me is my mark of that my writing has achieved or is achieving my intention. Nobody in life, and nobody should give you a recipe 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm
Right.
not a person that lives life by numbers. I experience life, whatever comes.
It's a good way to experience life, that's for sure.
I hope that answers your question, Lene. And actually, Angela Sam recently made a interesting comment, and this is exactly my intention. She keeps my books on a coffee table, and she'd randomly turn to a page, not A to B, but just randomly pick a page, and that's exactly how a poetry book should be.
Yes, and that is how I have many authors of poetry, and that is exactly how I pick through their books, because it's amazing when you're open to it how those pieces seem to speak to you more in that moment than if you were to just start at the very beginning and work through the book. It's pretty incredible.
There's a
Okay.
question there, how I decide which poems to share in my books. Have you seen that question?
I did.
Yeah. Well, that's a good question. If I was to sum it up, I'm not one who writes on bubbling springs and rainbows. Generally, my poetry is based on my own journey, my life experience. And if I'm going to expose myself, I expose it wholeheartedly. So I don't filter a lot of my pieces. If I think it's of value and it was a significant lesson, obviously I don't write about trivial things. But if it was a significant event in my life that warranted me writing about it,
Yeah.
that I publish. And I've generally split my books into 3 sections. One is the journeys that physically happen in this life. The second section is inspirated poems, which are based on either I've been fortunate enough to go through some past life regressions, or generally you'll find it, even my inspired poems have an element of truth about what I've experienced in life, in this life. And then there's the verses, which is short, almost just a bit bigger than a micro, to help people that they can easily memorize, to help them in their everyday life. As something happens, they can say, "Oh, this." I remember reading this from this guy called Rainier, and a short verse comes and hopefully triggers off your thoughts.
I think that the beauty of that, of your answer, is something in my business that I advise poets of, is that not everything you write deserves a spot in your book. You know, so I like to hear that you pick something that has great significance to you to put in the book, and that's the way it should be done. Okay. So
Henceforth, I don't write quite often, and I thank everybody who sends me all prompts and all that, but I don't always write for prompts because I'm writing words to something. I can't relate to it in the sense, yes, I can write to it, but it's not part of my journey that I've experienced.
right, and not every prompt speaks to everyone, so it becomes either just um, a task, or a chore maybe, but a progression. But there are some that speak to us, and those ones are beautiful to write to, but they're few and far between in my experience. But we're gonna go in a different route here. So we've gone through the books. We've had a few questions. I'm really excited to speak to you about things that people may not know about you, and that's the purpose of this show, is to bring a little bit more introspect into how we know somebody. So I know that you are a very spiritual person. What was the precipice for this transformation in your life?
The So just to be clear, yes, uh, I live life in a very spiritualistic manner, but do not confuse that with a institutionalized orthodox religion. I belong to none. I was brought up in Catholicism, but I was 20, I think, when I fought with the church, and I said to the priest and the assistant parish priest, "Look, you guys are no different to me. You're human in a different robe. And why am I surrendering power of myself for you to forgive me? Who the hell are you?" Right. So I started trusting my own conscience. So there's a running joke that even my dentist says, "Giles, you're going to wear your teeth out," because I brush my teeth quite profusely. And the reason that happens, often nighttime as I'm brushing my teeth, I'm looking in the mirror, and I am my own judge and jury. I look at everything that transpired in the day. Valerie, if I treated you inappropriately, I am my own judge, jury, and executioner. If I did and the world thought it was wrong and I believed, I live by my truth when I look in my eyes while I brush my teeth of a night time. That inner reflection, I guess, when my father died and I realized that he has not moved on, he's still all around me. I could communicate with him even through the veils that separate our worlds. And now my mother, who's passed on. And secondly, this relationship that turned my life around, relevant to that poem. I realized that if I took a glass of water from an ocean,
Mhm.
the concentration of that water, of the salt in that water, is the same as the ocean. It's just trapped within the physical body. If I tip that salt back into that ocean, it's one and the same. I realized that, like that, I am of a energy source, from a creative source. which is of the same as you and me. You and I might be in different shaped glasses for our experience. And that salt water being in that glass, exposed to the natural elements, the heat, the sun, um, the storms.
Right.
At the end of the day, when that glass is shattered, that salt water becomes back in one with the ocean. And that's when that mindset is what drives my spirituality. It's a spirituality that doesn't come from a book, doesn't come from a Bible, doesn't come from a Quran. It comes from within me, which is the same truth that exists within you. That salt in that ocean water is the same concentration in all of us. It's a matter of finding the strength to let go of the ego and trust what's in there. So my body that you see is that glass, which will be crushed, which will end back in the element. But that energy is what will go on. That is what I take beyond my grave.
Mm,
Not the status, not the materialism,
right.
but a kind deed that I did. That's what I take beyond.
Beautiful. Beautiful. All right. Very excited for this. So, you mentioned that you believe in past lives. So, what do you know about yours, and are you willing to share?
Yeah. Well, one of the significant ones was I was uh, part part Japanese, part Mongol, living in the steppes, fighting there through their bloody wars in the of the Great Khans. Now, in that, I've seen images of me, similar features, similar arms, just the shaved head and the sword dripping with blood. Now, in my books, you'll see some under-inspired poems. There's a few that come to mind. The Uprising. There was some about the days of war in my first book. In my Instagram page, you'll find a lot of those are basically inspired by that. And a piece in my first book, The Days of War, was actually about that. Another life, few other lives. I was in the Arabic nations where I've seen myself. And it's funny, I've got a very inquisitive mind, like if somebody gets $1 million, they go, "Oh wow, I'm about $1 million." My mind goes to, now, how did that $1 million come to be? And I digress into the $1 million means nothing. It's how did that come to be? And I remember seeing this one past life regression where I've jumped off. I was a pirate, and I've jumped off, and I had these most god ugly golden shoes with the curl cap and this purple Punjabi pants, and I'm going, "Oh God, is that me?" uh, I've jumped off the ship, and I was looking back at the propeller to see how this small propeller was making the ship go through. I've just landed on somebody's land. There's probably spears thrown at me, right? But I'm worried about how the hell did this. That's my mindset even today. Henceforth, I was in aeronautical research for 9.5 years in my life and so forth. Some of those traits you bring with you, and the deja vu feeling, right? I've actually looked into those in quite detail, and I've actually encountered people that the soul's energy that I'd known in past lives. And I was fortunate. Another one, I was pardon the terminology, I was a Greek prostitute, and quite a successful one at that. Apparently, I sat on a gold mine. So that probably explains some of my extroverted personality when I go out watching bands and partying on. So maybe, some of those traits are good things too. So, yeah.
You have an incredible story, and this is one of the reasons why I wanted to bring you on the show and have this chat with you. My next question is, do you believe that spirits are attracted to you?
Very much so. Very much so. I've actually, I've had not a nice experience, but on few occasions, I actually lived in haunted houses. First, they scared the bejesus out of me, but in the end, I actually befriended some lost spirits, and through that trust in man, I was able to help them on their way to progress through being tied to the earthbound planes. Now, some people think I'm an idiot. Some people, this guy's been smoking some serious drugs. But I am not one to quote anything that, oh, a friend of a friend saw this, and these are things that I saw with my own eyes, things that I experienced of my own. So people can label me, this guy's deluded, he's lost his mind, but at the end of the day, I know what my eyes saw. I know what I've felt and experienced.
Right. And you know what? That's the thing is, and I'm loving the chat because I'm watching people put up comments that are in support, and they have their own experiences, and that's why on this show we love to delve into subjects that are relevant to the individual, but also people may not realize how many people out there already have these experiences and are wanting to hear other people express them as well.
My first experiences were in childhood, and mum and all that, used to, I was brought up in Catholicism. Mum used to say, oh, look, that's because the Buddhists, the native people in Sri Lanka, they believe in ghosts. That's why they're there. So when I jumped on a plane to come here, I've gone, great. No Buddhists in Australia, no more ghosts, as this 13-year-old kid. And life was sweet up until then. Suddenly I found myself in my late 20s. I was in this haunted house. And what it did do, and that was a pretty damn scary experience, but what it did do was help me to overcome those fears of the other side, the dark and the light. To a point, I had to go to New Zealand, and I was there for about 5-6 months, and I rented this house. The backyard backed onto a cemetery. Shit, today I'd go and sleep in a cemetery. I couldn't give a damn. I'm fine with that, because at the end of the day, you got to remember, you're an energy just as powerful. At the moment, you're just in a physical vessel, right? You're the same salt water. You're just in a glass at the moment, but you're just as powerful as that ocean of water.
Right.
So,
absolutely. So if you could choose your next life, what lessons would you hope to achieve?
I'm hoping there's no more lives. I'm hoping I can learn every damn thing and I'm done with it, so I can chill out upstairs. But look, what do I hope to achieve? It's whatever I fail to achieve in this life. It's if I've missed the lessons, be it love or be it charity, be it compassion, be it whatever those lessons are, that's what I want to experience in the next life. I look at it as, child goes to grade 5, you want them to learn those lessons, but if they fail a couple of subjects, they pick it up in the following year, right? And that's it. So what I try to do, I try not to avoid or shirk any lessons I have to learn. Doesn't matter how much they hurt. I walk into love knowing that, holy shit, this is going to hurt and I can feel some pain, but I walk in, I'm not avoiding that. I've probably got a long history of deep emotional relationships, as you'll see in my books. That's quite often misconstrued as, oh, this guy's a player, right? But it's not. I would travel the ends of the world if I have to share 10 words with somebody. I won't shirk that responsibility, because not to that friendship, but to myself, because there's obviously something I need to learn from it, and I would not shirk that lesson, no matter what challenges. Some lessons are great; they're great. You want more of those, but even if it hurts, I don't shirk it.
I think that the community who knows and loves you can feel that, because you have always made yourself available, not only to support, but to be there to talk with them outside of shows. And that's a pretty incredible experience, because not everybody's like that. So I think that a lot of people are in awe of what you do.
I think that's pretty important, right? I don't believe in the Aztec that lives in the hills and claims he's found enlightenment. It's easy to say I won't steal when there's nothing else to steal up in the damn hills other than trees and a few wild animals, right? But when I live amongst the materialistic temptations and I don't steal, then I know the virtues that I don't steal.
Right.
And through my life's experiences, I'm no no oracle or nothing. I'm just another simple soul like you walking this earth. But if I can, through my, let's just say, gifts of experience that I've had, whether they hurt or not, if I can, and you're talking to a guy who grew up without a father, who had to find his own way. So if I can be that friend, that be that fellow human that can help another person in need, whether I've met them or not. Number one, I'm honored that they can leave friends and family in their own locality and reach out to a total stranger in the land down under. I'm not going to turn my head away from anybody, because someday, who knows? And I don't need, my phone's always there, and I don't need any praise or repayment in any form or manner, because maybe one day your child might be there for my son if he's in need.
Right.
That pebble
Exactly.
in the pond, right? The ripple effect, we don't
The
know.
ripple,
I
yeah.
give
The
for a
butterfly,
fellow human.
absolutely. Brilliant. Okay, so as an adult, who has had the greatest impact in your life?
Um, Everybody's had an impact, even if I've known them for 5 minutes, or somebody I've known them for 50 years or 40 years or 20 years. Everyone's had that impact. But I think if there's any significant impact that probably grounded me was when my son, my only biological son, was born. Um, that changed my life in a big way, in the sense that suddenly I had somebody else besides me to live for, because I lived always. Probably this is why I experienced so much in life, because I had no fear of death. I was happy to end. I was happy to, if my life ended tomorrow. And as they say, to get the best fruit, you got to go out on a limb. So I lived life. People say foolishly, but I just took risks. I just went. What's the worst thing that could happen to me? I could stop breathing. So that's all. But once my son came along, um, especially until he could walk on his own feet, there was a reason for me to wake up the next day. And yeah, there's things I'd like to do. I'd like the countrysides of Canada and the countrysides of Ireland. That's always fascinated me. But is that a bucket list? Is that a thing that I must do? Couldn't give a shit if it never happened, but I'd like to do it. But so I never had any aspirations or bucket list things that I have to do this before I die. No, I lived the way the way it is. But now, since my son's born, if I had anything, if I didn't wake up tomorrow, and if you asked me if I had any regrets, perhaps the only regret I would have is I've seen my son as an adult, and I see him captaining his own ship quite aptly and quite deftly and very confidently. But perhaps as a father, maybe I'd like to see him as that extended family with his kids, perhaps a grandchild from him, just to hold. That would probably be the only regret I'd have if I didn't wake up tomorrow. So I'm pretty fortunate. I don't have a long list bucket list. People ask what buckets is. I've got nothing, nothing
Nice.
at all. But
That's
yet, if somebody on the other end of the world said, "Hey, Charles, I really love to blah blah," I'll hop on a plane and go and see them tomorrow. But have I got plans for it? No, I don't.
I love that answer. I really do. That was fantastic. Okay, so this is one question that I don't often change up because I love hearing people's answers. And I know that my answer, you could ask me this every day and I would likely have a different answer. So if I was to offer you to have a meal, a dinner with three people, living or dead, who would you most want to sit and spend the evening chatting with?
Uh, Number one is Van Morrison,
Hmm?
and number two is Tina Turner.
Oh.
Not because I idolize them as people. I idolize nobody. Right? I don't. I I've had the opportunity to meet a couple of our prime ministers here. I just call them by their first name. I don't idolize anybody. Right? What I do admire in Van Morrison is I love a lot of the deep and meaningful lyrics of his songs. And this guy was putting out albums before the Beatles, and his last album came out in December. I admire that longevity. I admire that persistence to his passion and his lyrics. In one of his songs, what's the sound of one hand clapping?
Right.
Enlightenment. What is it anyway? Today, I think I'm enlightened about something. Tomorrow, something happens and that changes. Right? So I admire that. And Tina Turner, I respect for. We all find ourselves in deep, dark places in life. Not only did she find the strength to rise above the imprisonment she found herself in with Ike,
Right.
but she blossomed as a flower. She became such an amazing person in her talents, as a persona, even physically. Yeah, physically, she looked better at 60 than she did when she was 18 or 20. You know, my ex-wife used to always say, "Oh, here's your dad's secret crush." You know, because she was beautiful. She blossomed. So it doesn't matter what the message there to me is. You could be in the pits of hell, but remember, you are that same drop of water that ocean is. You can rise above it, and she proved it. And she proved it. She blossomed. She thrived. She became the best person she ever did. She didn't worry about the scars, and God help us, there must have been some ugly scars that poor woman carried, right? That we don't even know about. We only know the bit that was in media. There must be some ugly scars, and she rose above it.
Absolutely.
She's no better than you and me. We're all human. She did it. You and I can do it.
Exactly. Okay, you have one more. That was two. Anybody else who you can think of?
The other person, those two are probably the biggest two that I've looked up to. No, not really. Everybody else is, yeah.
That's more than fair.
As I said, I don't. Some people take it as an arrogancy, but it's not. Because I don't idolize anybody. But the reason I don't idolize anybody is because I know that you, me, everybody in this audience is no better or worse than each other. We're all the same.
Exactly. And I believe the same as well. The question isn't about idolizing somebody. I think, and some people do take it that way, and that's fair. That's their prerogative. But to me, the question is, somebody who you just want to know more of, or you have questions for them, So
Okay, there is one person.
Okay.
And that would have been Robin Williams.
Oh my goodness.
Again, I see so much of that man, so many sides of that man, and I think we only saw a very small portion of it in the public eye. I'd love to know where that man took, because he was a very profound, in-depth person.
Agreed.
That would be the other person I'd love to get to know.
Pretty incredible list. Well-rounded list. Okay. So we're getting close to the end of this segment. So I want to ask you, what do you hope to achieve in the next few years? I heard you say that you've got another book coming out, but is there any other goals that you or kind of maybe how should I put it, as opposed to goals, something that intrigues you that you hope to do? You mentioned a little bit of travel. I know you mentioned your book, but is there anything else?
Not really, because as I said, I don't live life. I don't paint by numbers.
Right.
I don't have vision of my picture and I go 1, 2, 3, 4. I let it unfold. Dab that brush in there and that brush there and see what picture evolves. So my tomorrow is what the universe grants me. And the way my life has been, if I'm meant to go somewhere from point A to point B, but I'm too damn lazy to go, something happens. I call it God kicks my butt.
Right.
And I'm there. Similarly, if I want desperately to go somewhere and I'm not meant to go there, walls after wall after wall
Yeah.
is put in my way so that I don't get there. And it saved my life many times as well. So I don't have those aspirations, but I guess obviously, I'll write this next book, but whether I write it or not, it's not a big thing for me. That I write many more books after it. It's if the urge comes that I'm meant to, and there's a message I got to go work getting out there. Yes, I'll write 10 books if I have to. But if
Right.
I don't do this next one, doesn't matter. That's obviously a lot. I love to again. I'd love to meet a lot of you people that I've connected with in person. I'd love to share a meal with you, God willing, if I get the chance to travel. And I know there's 20,000 miles of ocean that separates us. But Valerie, I'd love to have a meal with you one day. I'd love to meet people like Lene and Gifted and all these lovely people that I connect with through these channels. Mr. Wits, I'd love to meet some of these people in
Right.
person and have a drink, have a meal, right? Break some bread together.
Right.
God willing, but I'm not planning for that. If that happens, I'll be thankful to the heavens. I
Right.
guess uh, maybe I'd hopefully, perhaps, maybe find love again.
Right.
The last 6 years since my divorce, I've been quite happy being me. Matter of fact, I've been living life like I was in my damn 20s. That's pretty crazy. It was funny. So my son, he was coming out of the army when I split up, and he decided, Dad, I want to live with you. Although the mother had a couple of spare rooms and we were flatmates for 4 years. And then he bought his own house and moved out. And in those 4 years, he was like the parent, I was like the child, because here's an electrician. He'll be heading out to work at 5, 6 in the morning, and the father's just coming in home, and he'd go, "Oh, good night, was it?" So I was like this child, right? So I've been blessed to go through my crazy years again. But look, in a responsible way, of course, maybe an empty wallet after a good few whiskey bars. But um, look, I'm not aversive to finding love again. Perhaps more fussy when I was, younger. If somebody ticked off, you had a checklist of must-haves, 70% of the checklist. Now I'm probably a bit more fussy. That have to tick about 95% of the damn list
Right.
before I give up my freedom and my individual free. Look, I can hop on a plane and come there and I can come to the other end of the world and live if I want. Right? There's nothing to stop me. I'm only a phone call away. Since my son moved out, it's given me the opportunity to see him steer his ship deftly, that I know he doesn't need me anymore to guide him. So I'd be more than happy to, I can go and live anywhere in the world. So having that freedom, if I'm going to give that up,
Right.
that flexibility in life, somebody would have to tick a lot of damn boxes on that list.
So we're at the point of the show, but we are going to shift gears. But what I always do at this junction is I offer the space to the guest to say whatever they'd like to say. Maybe there's something that they hope that I'd ask that I didn't think of, or maybe they have an upcoming event, any such thing. So the mic is yours, and then after that, we're gonna switch into the shenanigans.
Look, my only thing to anybody out there is live what's in your heart. Let go of the fears in your mind. Trust in yourself. Live what's in your heart.
Absolutely.
I'm nobody special. I'm just a simple soul walking through this life, just like every other person. That one cup of that glass of ocean water in a glass, just the containers might be different, but inside the salt water is the same as that ocean. It could be a square cylinder, could be a round cylinder, could be a hectagonal, octagonal shape cylinder. The glass is irrelevant. Today, I'm in a male's body. Valerie, you're in a female's body, but inside we're the same. Believe in that. You're here for your own soul's experience, and your heart talks to your soul. So listen to that. Don't live by this. Don't let the ego's greed, fascinations, infatuations guide you.
Right.
Be guided by that heart inside. That's my word to anybody and everybody.
I'm going to mirror what we see collectively, I think that I can speak for everybody, and if they don't agree, then they're free to let me know, but I don't think they will have a different thought than I. You are the spiritual journey that you have come to us at the point that you are in it is really beautiful, and we see you. We definitely see you. So I want to say that you are teaching people just by being you, and that is a beautiful gift that you're giving people who you meet. Whether it is the beauty of social media is that it's far and wide, right? But whether, as you said, alluded to earlier, whether it's 5 minutes or a longer period of time, I think that what you're doing is significant, and very you do it very humbly, which is exceptional. So thank you very much. Okay, here we go. Nervous?
Actually, yeah. If you told me there's 20 guys out there with guns and knives, I'd walk out there quite happily. But these next set of questions, I'm more worried about.
Play stupid games.
Oh my God, I'm hopeless at games because, yeah, here we go.
Right.
Wish me luck, folks. Wish me luck.
Yeah. So trust me, this part of the segment is always a little nerve-wracking for me as well, because we hope to have a lot of fun, and if we don't, well, then that just happened. Rainier, what is the weirdest thing you have ever put Vegemite on?
Vegemite?
Yeah.
My favorite is a Vegemite cheese lettuce sandwich. Love it.
Vegemite
and
lettuce.
cheese and iceberg lettuce on fresh bread. Oh, beautiful. And Vegemite, by the way, best cure for a hangover. You get that vitamin B hit next morning on dry toast. Bang, head's beautiful.
Most people just take vitamin B.
No, Vegemite just
Vegemite. Okay, we got a ding there. Have you ever sparred with a kangaroo?
Nah, it's a fallacy. They're good as golf. I bet I play golf. I go in the middle of 20 of them and hit my golf ball. No, we respect each other. I don't go and obviously I don't go and slap them around because they're powerful beasts, but they're harmless. They're vegetarian. They're not carnivores, so I'm safe. They don't want to eat me. Yeah, they might kick me if I go and get too close and start hurting them, but otherwise they're harmless. Yeah.
All right, so respectful distance, no kangaroo sparring, no calling them names and getting them all agitated.
I'll go in there with a golf club and hit my ball. They know I'm there to hit the ball. I'll give them a bit of respect because if I'm going to hit a shit shot and hit them in the body, I sort of usher them out of the way. But otherwise, yeah. Matter of fact, Stephanie has a laugh about these, and I recently sent her some photos of kangaroos within like 2-3 meters of where the ball was being hit. So just to show her that she's safe if she visits here, she doesn't have to, she can return home to the States in 1 week.
Doesn't have to worry about anything except for maybe her balls being picked up by kangaroos. All right. How do you explain a platypus?
It's a bloody confused animal between a beaver, a duck, and a beaver and a duck. I think it just thought I like both, so I'll be part of both. But they're actually amazing creatures to watch because they're nocturnal. It's very hard to see them unless you go in the rivers and you're actually fortunate enough to see one. But they're also shy creatures. So generally, some of the zoos and all that, they display them in a nocturnal tank. You can see them in their habitat. They're amazing swimmers, harmless and amazing swimmers. But they got this big duck's bill and these duck's feet, and then the rest of them looks like a beaver. Just freak of nature, but beautiful.
Do you think they're shy because people refer to them as a freak of nature?
Possibly, but maybe they're this guy. But they actually, because they're nocturnal as well, so they live in the more freshwater rivers and things like that under the tree roots and so forth. So a couple of times I've been fortunate to see them in their natural habitat, but it's very fleeting. They as soon as they sense your presence, they disappear and they're
off.
camouflaged amongst it. Yeah.
Can you mimic the sound they make for us?
Of a platypus?
Yeah.
I've never heard one. So no, because as I said, normally if I see them, I'm underwater with them and my sonar doesn't work well underwater. I wouldn't have a clue what a platypus sounded like.
I was pretty excited because I thought we were going to get you to get a platypus nose there. And none of us would have been able to argue with you about it. That was the beauty of the question. Just be like, all right, that's what it sounds like. Because Rainier said so. And people would be like, I heard it from Rainier, so it's true. Okay.
Silly people.
Okay. How do you explain that the first Australian police force was made up of convicts?
The first Australian
police force was made up of convicts.
Well, this is a very isolated land, right? And it was made by convicts. And even the jailers that came up were the people that the mother country wanted to get rid of because they were troublemakers. So even the jailers were only one step above the prisoners, right? And it's a large country. And like if I travel to my nearest city, Sydney, that's about a 10 hour drive. I could travel through 3 countries in Europe. Right? If I travel from me to the next city, Queen of Brisbane, which is like a couple of day drive, I could travel through 10 countries in Europe.
Right.
So cutting these roads and so number one, it was by the rejects and prisoners. Then from the Irish famine, we had a lot of Irish immigrants. And after the Depression, and the World Wars, we had a lot of Italian, Greek, Maltese community coming there. And these people brought their skills, like the Italians were great and Greeks were great road builders, concreters, and so a lot of our construction, even to date, some of the biggest building companies are owned and passed down from Greek and Italian builders. So I guess you had to come up with stuff here, of sports here to play. And some of our indigenous, like our Australian rules football, which is only played here, it's very similar to Gaelic football, but it's amazing what a natural talent the indigenous people, a lot of their big players, there's a big part of the indigenous community that really adapt. They're like fish out of water when it comes to that game. They've got that uncanny football sense. So, and as Angela just said, you got to remember these convicts weren't bad people. A lot of them, they were convicted for just stealing a loaf of bread to feed their families after the wars and the Depression. Right. They were sent out here. So
it worked out okay for Australia in the long run.
Look, I think it's worked out very well because today, honestly, we are probably one of the most cosmopolitan countries. I could walk down one street and eat 10 different nationalities, if not a dozen, right next door to each other. And they're cooked by authentic chefs from there, but it's actually better. And I found this when I was in Hong Kong or places that I actually enjoy the food here more because the produce is better, more fresh, but cooked by authentic people.
Right.
And you look at like Greek and Turkey, their borders have been at war for as long as history goes. I can walk down a street and have a Greek and a Turkish restaurant right next door to each other and enjoy both. So we're very privileged. It's worked out very well for us. And then, of course, after the Vietnam War in the 70s, we had the Vietnamese migrants. Today, they're 2nd and 3rd generation born here, and they speak with an Aussie accent, and they had such authentic food. We really are blessed.
It's amazing. It's amazing the cultural mixing pot that has come out of a lot of places. So it wasn't that funny, but thank you.
And but this is the other thing that stands that we find hard to understand when you look at countries much older than us who are still battling things like racism, for Christ's sake. I mean, that's just, and in a bad way, publicly, openly.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. 100 sharks versus 1 lion in the outback. Who's going to win?
100 sharks and 1 lion.
Right.
Well, it's all subject to the environment, right? In the water, 100 lions are going to go down on the land.
In the outback.
Right?
It's in the outback.
missed the question. Sorry, it's in the what?
100 sharks versus 1 lion in the outback. Who's going to win?
Oh, in the outback. Well, the sharks would be dead before they got to the outback because there's no water there.
They got there from tornadoes. They made 3 documentaries about it. Sharknado.
I reckon the sharks will do it because the damn things are bloody fast. I've seen a few in the water, and yeah, that's where when I've been diving and I just gone and stayed in the. Look, some sharks are good. The Port Jackson, the Wabbinoes, you can go and grab them. They're fine. But the grey nurses, the whites, the tigers, yeah, I've gone and hid in the rocks until the big shadow has moved and then scuttled up back to the surface.
Okay. Yeah, you find a spider in your shoe. Would you A, buy new shoes, B, take a picture, C, and most likely burn your house down?
No, just go and put him out in there. Just pick him up and go and throw him out in the trees. Unless it's a redback or a funnel web, because those suckers, for the funnel webs, we only found an antivenom for that about probably 15, 20 years back. So as a kid, there was no antivenom for the funnel webs. So you wouldn't pick one of those up, but just take the shoe, hold it out like that, and just go and tip it out in the trees and send it into its natural habitat. Redbacks, yeah, those things. I remember going to one place and the whole shed that I rented was covered in. I just went and got rid of them before the kids went into the shed and got bitten by one of them. But the redbacks are, yeah, they're profuse. I've been up on trees up in North Queensland and going to pick some fruit and felt something between my hand and the fruit, and I could feel it. But I'm 20 foot up in the air and I'm going, uh-oh. I knew what the hell it was. So what do? You're not going to fall off the tree. You just had to come down the tree and get rid of the tree and dust this damn spider off your hand. But yeah.
I would have fallen. I would have taken a great anybody who knows me knows that I would have lost my proverbial shit. Ladder, they would have said, Valerie Lorraine died today from falling off a ladder because she was scared of a spider. So
some of these damn tree spiders are big. They're as big as my hand, right?
No, we're good. We're good. I wouldn't be in there. So Valerie Lorraine would not have fallen off a ladder, because if she knew that, there's no hope in hell I would have gotten me up there to.
You have deterred Stephanie Jackson from ever visiting Australia.
Probably because it's my reason. So for that prize, we had a flamethrower for you. And it's really cool. It's fun to play with. And I just want to let you know that shipping is not included. So
a flamethrower.
A little bit more expensive than sending a book.
Flamethrower. Well.
But, in case you ever change your mind and would like to burn down the house or the neighborhood where you found the spider.
Long as they stay outside and I'm inside. Actually, it was only a few weeks ago. I was getting on the rare occasion I was going to office. I put the jacket on and I'm tying my shoelaces, and there's this little friendly thing that was running there down my shoulder. It was a little black spider, probably about, I don't know, size of an inch diameter, running down there. So I got, first I flicked him off and then grabbed a tissue, grabbed him and then set him free out in the trees there. But he just decided my suit jacket was a nice, comfortable place.
Very kind of you. Okay. What is the most useless Australian animal that still qualifies as your spirit animal?
The damn magpies. Number one, they stand for they're the emblem of one of my most hated football teams. That's the first thing. And the magpies, the damn things are, when they're during spring, a lot of people can't even go outside because they really swoop on you. And I don't know what the hell they do for other than being a damn pest. So those I'm happy to just
say no.
Bang, bang, bang.
Oh, now we have use for the flamethrower.
No, just that they're such. Actually, in some towns, where tourists were going to, they had to get the rangers to come and get these, and they come back to the same tree every year. And they were actually, there's a couple of magpies who were terrorizing this town of Echuca. Right in the heart of the town, they decided to nest. So for those 3 months of tourism there, the people couldn't go there because they they would do circle and keep swooping and swooping and swooping.
Exactly.
I've been hit on the back of the ear, and they drew blood off me while I was riding a push bike on a highway. They've actually ridden back and just hit me on the back of the ear, and they come out of nowhere. They're a pest, just like their football supporters. They're a pest. Angela's probably a Collingwood supporter, so she's going to kill me after this.
She's plovers. Is that a great?
Yeah, they're like the magpies. Those damn things attack you as well, like swoop. It's springtime, and they come at you like a damn spitfire straight at you.
Well, I will just let you know that the secret of that is to feed them, and they will be your friend. So, how nerve-wracking was that?
Oh, quite good actually. I can breathe.
Well, as you know, you did win the flamethrower. You've also won 2 other things for participating in our shenanigans. So you have won a glass of water because you keep on referring to the glass of seawater. So again, shipping and handling is on you. And the other thing that you've won is we are now famous for this. It's talked about far and wide all over the internet. If you seek, it might take you a while, but you will find that we are famous for our gift cards. So you know about our Amazon gift cards, correct? Okay, so I'm going to ask our producer, because I didn't check in before the show. Do you know how much the gift card that we're giving Rainier is worth this week?
I think it's 16 cents.
Thank you.
Thank you, Clint. I'll promise I won't spend it all at once.
Okay, well, you know what? I was just going to say the prerogative is yours. You could go wild, as part of your personality is, and just really let it all out there and spend it all at once. Or you could be a little bit more modest with it and hang on to it for the big purchase. So it's yours to do with what you would like to do.
Might frame it and keep it as a souvenir of this interview and the show. I think that's probably carrying more weight.
Again,
my grandkids could say, this is when Pa went on the show with Valerie. This was what he won, the 16 cents gift card. Better value, I think.
Again, when we gift it to you, we never have stipulations on what you can do with it. So totally yours. Totally yours to do with what you like. But what I would like to do is express my sincere gratitude for you coming on the show and enjoying the time with us. My goal was to unearth a little bit more info on you, which was a bit difficult because we've had some good conversations. So it really wasn't for me, but it was for others who may not have had the blessings of having a good conversation with you. So I cannot thank you enough. And what we're going to do now is we are going to close the show and then ask you to hang about after our producer closes the show off, and just wait it out, and we will be back on the screen together in a moment. Everyone who's in the room, I just want to thank you so much for joining the show. My guest tonight has been Rainier. You can be found on Instagram at Rainier700. And we can be found here every week on Tuesday night at 9:30 Eastern Standard Time. If you'd like, you can subscribe and like our page and take it a step further and hit that notification bell. And then you get notified of the shows, and eventually I'll have to stop sending you because you'll just already be here. I'd like to thank our
Valerie,
producer forward. Yes, dear.
I'd like to thank both you and Clint for giving me the honor of being part of this show. And I'd like to extend my heartfelt thanks to everybody. I can't see who's been in the room for some reason. I don't know who's in there, other than I've seen some questions come up. I'd like to thank each and every one of you for taking time off your busy lives to come and listen to this crazy guy from the land down under. I really, I'm honored that you made the time. And I hope that through my simplistic lifestyle that I've been able to give you something to think about and to take some strength to help you in your own lives. Otherwise, if I can be of help in any way, I'm always there for one and everybody.
Beautiful. Beautiful. And we know that of you. So thank you so much. And I just want to let you know as well that a lot of times we don't even know all the people who are in the room watching, because we only see the comments, and comments are available from those people who were able to sign in when they went into the came into the room. So there are a lot of other people watching that aren't even signed in. So we'd like to thank you for that and welcome you to sign into your account next time so that you can comment live, and those comments do produce on the replay. So for those of you who could be here during this time, we thank you so much. For those of you who watch this on replay, we thank you just as much. And we will see you again next week, where my guest is going to be somebody very special, and I'll let you know closer to the date. Stay tuned on my Instagram. Thank you, everybody, and good night.